Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. As the race for the Scottish Tory leadership turns the corner and enters the home straight, it seems that there are really only two final contenders. I'm surprised Megan Gallagher hasn't pulled out, but there she goes. She's still there for the moment, but she's not going to win. It's of course, going to be either Murdo Fraser or Russell Findlay. And they've both been sort of pinching at each other, jostling, elbowing. There's no outright animosity, and of course there can't be. Now that there's just the two of them, it would seem very destructive to the party to do so. But they're both saying their piece in a I would say friendly rivalry on the surface of it. Underneath, of course, no such thing as friendly rivalry. They always say about the Tory party, when you stand there talking to the Parliament, particularly in Westminster, the opposition are ahead of you, but the enemy are behind you. And that's how it goes with being a Tory leader, I suppose. And it's the same in Scotland, I'm sure, as being in the rest of the country at the national level. But Murdo Fraser has now been backed by Malcolm Rifkind. Now, Malcolm Rifkind was a big name back in the 80s and into the early 90s. He's sort of gone off the boil a bit. He's a bit of a nobody's man. Younger people, of course, will probably say, who? Us old ones, though, we know who he was. And he was quite a good politician. He was, I suppose, able, adept. Far better than most of the ones they've got today, it must be said. But he's backing Murdo Fraser. Meanwhile, Russell Findlay is starting to understand the size of the problem not just he has got, but the Tory party have got. He is appealing for reform voters to come back and vote for the Conservatives, come back and put them into a stronger position. He's seen the polls, and the polls say a lot of people are voting reform because none of the other parties are offering what needs to be done as any of their policies. Only reform. And so reform, uniquely, I think, in British political history, are attractive to both those on the left and those on the right. They're seen as being a proper Tory party for proper Tory voters, unlike the current Tory party, which is more leftist, more Labour-light. And for those Labour voters who are going across, well, they're disenfranchised by the party that's supposed to be helping them. The working classes who are downtrodden, pushed down, and they say that it's the Labour Party pushing them down, keeping them down, not giving them opportunities, and now taxing the arse off them. And so they are going to reform as well. Reform is a bucket filling up from two nozzles, isn't it? And the polls are showing this. And indeed, reform could well be, after the next election in a few years' time, the official opposition, or at the rate it's going, the government, especially if the current Labour government keep going as they are, alienating everybody, impoverishing everybody, and being destructive to everything. And so, of course, Russell Findlay sees this. He sees people going to reform, and he knows that as they do, as everyone does, every single vote that goes across makes a difference and makes his job harder, or will possibly even make his job non-existent come the next Scottish election. He could be voted out, and somebody from Reform could be sitting in his seat. That would be a shame, wouldn't it? Let's hope they do that to a lot of SNP members as well. I'd like to see a good, strong Reform bloc in Holyrood. I think a lot of people would. Certainly, it would make it a lot more interesting. There wouldn't be any kind of majority. It would have to probably be a three-party state in order to get a majority. And when you get to that point, you know that extremist policies cannot survive. And so you get more conciliatory politics. Everybody wins, especially if Labour are not amongst them, and even more, especially if the SNP are nowhere in sight. No guarantee they'll even exist in 18 months' time, of course. Not with their terrible, terrible accounts at the moment. Hey-ho, it's something to look forward to. Of course, we still don't know who's going to win the Tory popularity contest. My money, I think, is still on Russell Findlay. But I think if Murdo does win it, there won't be a lot in it. It's going to be very, very tight. It really is too close to call. Who knows? Well, not me, but we will do, and soon. Thanks very much. Take care. Goodbye.